today's video, Democrat Senator John Fetterman goes on Fox News and blasts his own party for allowing the government shutdown to drag on, with air traffic controllers calling out more and more as each day passes by and more flight delays piling up. Even longtime supporters of the Democrat Party are speaking out and urging Democrats to end the shutdown. So we're breaking it all down, showing you how each side is presenting their case and what it means for the people caught in the middle. And so let's start with Sean Duffy, Secretary of the Department of Transportation, addressing these issues. Take a listen.
I hope that Democrats come to their senses and end this shutdown. I don't even know what they're asking for. I have no idea. What is the shutdown over? I don't know. Do they want to negotiate? They want I don't know what they want. And they say they have leverage by the shutdown, but they're getting leverage by way of hurting the American people. And I'm frustrated by it because, again, I look across our system, a system I have worked really hard to make safer. I've worked really hard to bring in more air traffic controllers, more into our academy, more into our training system in our towers and centers. And this does not help us resolve that problem. This makes this problem only worse.
Controllers are coming off their worst weekend for staffing shortages since the shutdown set in more than a month ago now. Between Friday and Saturday night, there were 98 staffing trigger reports at FAA facilities. That's the terminology they use. That means controllers had to make changes, rerouting planes, delaying flights, and beyond to keep the airspace safe with fewer people on staff. Controllers are considered essential staff, are required to continue working even though they are not being paid, have not been paid now for a month. Transportation Secretary says, well, some of them have used sick days. Other controllers are taking time off to work jobs that will actually pay them.
National Airport. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, Martha. The Transportation Secretary says that these air traffic controllers simply cannot go another week without getting paid, or we're going to start to see some serious consequences, especially as the busy holiday week kicks off. He even says they may be forced to shut down some airspace next week because of these staffing shortages. But let's take a look at our live flight aware map to give you an idea of the impact here. So those delays in the U.S. jumping to 2,500 and more than 90 cancellations. Officials say more than 3.2 million people have been impacted by either delays or cancellations since the start of the shutdown. More than 13,000 air traffic controllers, as well as those TSA agents, they have not been paid for weeks. So frustrated workers, they have bills to pay and families to feed, so many are calling out sick. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy with this dire warning tonight.
But with this shutdown, it would be dishonest to say that more risk is not injected into the system. There is more risk in the system. You do have a controller who is certified to maybe work 2 positions, but traditionally they'll only work 1. But they have to work those 2 positions because their colleagues have called in sick, or they're waiting tables, or they're driving Uber.
And the U.S. Travel Association also urging Congress to reopen the government in a letter signed by 500 other companies. Check this out. The letter says in part, quote, with Thanksgiving, the busiest travel period of the year, imminently approaching, the consequences of a continued shutdown will be immediate, deeply felt by millions of American travelers, and economically devastating to communities in every state. And despite this, Martha, Democrats again today failed to pass a clean CR bill for the 14th time.
Not great. Thank you very much, Brock.
It's impossible for Democrats to claim that they're fighting for the American people while also standing by and allowing this shutdown to drag on. This is what happens when party politics get placed over country. This has become a serious safety issue now in areas where mistakes just aren't allowed to happen, because these are the people who are responsible for the safety and the well-being of countless Americans. Yet Democrats seem to not really care about how many people are being put at risk. As long as they're able to create the perception that it's the Republicans' fault.
Democrats are the ones that are not voting to fund the government. Now, I understand why they're doing so. They're doing so because of health care, and they want to fight, and they want Republicans to negotiate, et cetera, et cetera. The messaging by Democrats around this shutdown has been sharper than I've seen Democrats on any issue in a long time. They have convinced voters, Democratic voters and independent voters, that it's the Republicans' fault. And just on the numbers, that might not be actually accurate.
Democrats, you fought. It seemed like you lost the fight. At this point, go on, give it up. At least give the people some relief by getting the government back open.
Yeah, he is appealing to Democrats by citing issues like SNAP benefits and holiday travel. This is now the longest shutdown in U.S. history.
Have you ever had a moment that changed your life? One accident, one employer who doesn't care, one hospital bill you couldn't pay. That's how quick life can change. And when it does, you realize something fast. The big companies, the insurance giants, they don't care about you. They've got teams of lawyers whose only job is to protect their bottom line. But who's protecting you? There's a reason why it feels like traffic always jams when you're running late. Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, Morgan & Morgan has fought for the people, not the powerful. With 1,000 plus attorneys and more than 100 offices nationwide, they've recovered over $25 billion for more than 500,000 clients just like you. Whether you're a 41-year-old family man in Florida, struck by a driver who ran a red light, Morgan & Morgan secured a $9.3 million verdict. Or a father and Little League coach who suffered lasting injuries in a car crash, Morgan & Morgan secured a $6.1 million verdict. When you hire them, it's like hiring a legal army that has your back. Starting a claim is simple. You can get started right now from your phone. No hassle. You can click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen to see if you have a claim. Their fee is free unless they win. Because when life changes in an instant, you deserve a law firm that's ready to fight for you. Democrats have become so self-righteous, so Trump deranged that they truly think they know what's best for the country. And they're willing to allow however many people need to suffer just to be able to prove it. Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are more concerned about protecting their power within their party and trying to make themselves look like the good guys who are fighting for health care for Americans than actually fighting for Americans. But it's political theater, all just to show. But let's take a listen to John Fetterman. He appeared on Fox News because he's one of the few Democrats who don't believe in using the American people as leverage to be able to get their way against Republicans. And so he went on Fox News. And so let's check out some common sense Democrats who you don't have to agree with their policies to agree that they just have common sense when it comes to just some basic things. Take a listen.
Pennsylvania's Democrat Senator John Fetterman is here. Senator, socialism might be taking over the Democratic Party. If it does, will you become a Republican?
No, well, socialism might be taking over in New York City, tomorrow, but that's certainly not the future of my party. And remind people that New York City's politics are not a national model. And watch the kinds of campaigns that would encourage him to campaign with him. It's like Pennsylvania keeps people honest. We're very purple, and I know and I love a lot of people that voted for the president. And now that's like, it keeps you honest to remember that, there's two sides and you have to find a way forward. And that's really the future. And that's why I'm proud to be a part of it.
John Fetterman makes a lot of sense. And clearly he makes too much sense for most Democrats. Because somehow Democrats have managed to make themselves even less likable. Every time they open their mouths, they remind people just how out of touch they become. For years, they sold this image that they were champions of the working class. And sure, at one time, you could argue that was true. But those Democrats are long gone, and that is no longer the case. It's obvious now they look down on those very same people. They claim to be fighting for people's health care, but the truth is they're fighting for themselves. Because apparently, their version of fighting for the American working class means starving them, bankrupting them and pushing Americans to the brink just to make a political point. What we're seeing isn't leadership, it's cruelty disguised as virtue. And this isn't some partisan rant. It's wrong to shut down a government no matter who you want to say is responsible for it, Democrats or Republicans. It shouldn't happen, not when you have people and their livelihoods at risk.
So you're agreeing with the Republicans on the shutdown, you're agreeing on Israel, you're agreeing on the woke BS. Are you close to becoming a Republican?
No, I'd be a terrible Republican. But I'll just be a very honest Democrat that's not necessarily afraid to push back against some of these views that I just don't agree with. Like, if you can't be a very unapologetically support for Israel, then that's a problem for my party. If you think it's the right thing to shut our government down for any reason, then that should be a problem too. And I believe we need to secure our border. And things were out of control under the Biden administration about the border, and now I think that's right, and that's the views that I have. And so, with this shutdown, it would be wrong if the Republicans do that. It's wrong now. We need to reopen this. And now, for me as a Democrat, 42 million Americans, the food insecure. I mean, that's at the very kind of core of the kinds of people that we really need to protect. Now every union that's attached to this shutdown, they're all calling this has to end. If we're fighting for working families, why don't we agree with them and just do this? So,
well, why won't Schumer do it? I mean, you voted to open the government.
Well, I mean, I really kind of led the charge back in March about keeping our government open. And I thought I might be the only Democrat. And there was enough people back in March. And I said, I'm going to be right there in September when this comes back. And if I'm the only Democrat, I'll still be there because it's wrong to shut our government down.
John Fetterman represents what you would want in an elected official, not just as a Democrat, not just as a Republican, but as someone who was elected to work for the people. You don't have to agree with his policies to recognize that he's a man of principle, and that supersedes politics any day of the week. While Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are out holding press conferences, and every time basically admitting two things. One, Obamacare, complete failure that they sold to the American people that can only be maintained and propped up by subsidies. That's clearly the truth at this point. You can't deny that. And two, that they will not reopen the government unless you give them exactly what they want. Fetterman is focused on the people who elected him, the ones counting on him to represent their needs.
Does Schumer hate you for this? No,
of course he doesn't. He doesn't hate me. We might disagree with it right now. And where I'm here tonight to have a conversation because I'm going to have a conversation with the other side, and that's where I'm at. And I'm going to show up and talk to anyone that invites me to be here because we really need each other, and I want to have. And one other thing I refuse to do as a Democrat, I'm not going to call you a fascist or a Nazi. I'm not going to compare anyone to Hitler or anything. That's wrong. And if you resort to that thing, you've lost the plot. It's like because if you call him a fascist, then you have to think, well, maybe the people that vote for him, and I know people that love for him, is a fascist. That's just not true. And I know people that voted for the other side, and they're not trying to destroy our Constitution.
Well, the guy up there in Maine, he's got a Nazi tattoo.
No, that's going to be up to the Democrats in Maine. You know, for me, I'm proud to represent Pennsylvania, and I think that's the state in this country that truly reflects our nation, and now that keeps you accountable and that keeps you honest, and that's why anybody would want to be in a bubble online or living in a bubble.
All right.
And that's the real story here. Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, they're in their own bubble of belief that they are right and that they know what's best for the American people. And if you don't agree with them, then you're wrong. And that has nothing to do with compassion. It definitely doesn't have anything to do with protecting the people. It has everything to do about power and who gets to control the narrative while Americans pay the price. You can't claim to stand for the working class while crushing the people who keep this very country running. You can't preach empathy while weaponizing struggle. But those are my thoughts. Now I want to hear from you. Drop your comments down below. I appreciate when you guys take the time to chime in. As always, the best way you can show your support and that you enjoy the content is by smashing that thumbs up. That tells me you like the video. And subscribe for more breakdowns just like this. And as always, until next time.